Hey to the most amazing nurses. It is Dr. V here with Morning Infusion with Dr. V podcast, where we are intentional about teaching nurses how to work from anywhere around the world, making money and owning your own time, building profitable nurse coaching and consulting businesses. You will hear from amazing guests that have grown their companies and want to share insight into how you can do the same to change the face of healthcare as we know it. If you want to grow your businesses and leverage your knowledge as a nurse to grow wildly successful businesses at the top, instead of working your way to the top, head on over and join our Millionaire Nurse CEO group on Facebook, where you can ask questions and get updates on our live and virtual events to help you grow your businesses. Good morning. Good morning. So today we have somebody super special, Tonya Cooper. So Tonya, tell us a little bit about you. Tell us who you are. Give us your bio.
Okay, good morning, everybody. My name is Tonya Cooper. I have coined myself the Essential Wellness Nurse Coach. I am the owner and founder of EO Vibes Holistic Care, and I am a health and wellness nurse coach. I coach nurses who are experiencing nurse burnout and compassion fatigue to use holistic and health and wellness techniques to enhance their well-becoming. I've been a nurse for about 15 years now, and I am extremely excited. I love taking care of people, and I'm married. I have my husband and I have been married for 30 years. We have 4 sons and 3 amazing grandchildren.
I love it. I love it. So tell me some keys to being married for 30 years.
Oh my goodness. So definitely that 3 chord of you, your husband, and God. He has to be the center of your relationship. I have been with my husband since I was 16 years old. I will be 54 years old this month. And it's been quite the journey, but he's the love of my life. He's supported me in everything. I've supported him in everything. And we just really tight. So yeah, just give each other grace in becoming, right? Because I met him at 16. I'm not the same person now. So, and neither is he.
That's the truth. That is so the truth. I mean, you're not the same person at all. You're ever evolving. And if you're not evolving, then that's probably a problem. Yeah. But anyway, let's talk about you as the nurse. So tell me about this whole nurse journey. Did you want to become a nurse?
I did, Dr. V. What happened was when I was very young, and it's amazing the power of image when you're young. I used to look through our photo albums all the time. I would love to see my family smiling and, their little action pictures and everything. I saw my mother in a all white suit. So I probably was around 4 or 5. I thought my mother was a nurse. And I used to set up my dials and everything because what also resonated in me was to be a teacher. So I would set my dials up. I would have my little board up and I would, pretend listening to their heartbeat and everything, things like that. Well, the journey has started, and it wasn't until many years later I had asked my mom, I said, Mom, well, whatever happened with you being a nurse? She said, I wasn't a nurse. She said, I was in school to be a nursing assistant. I was like, wow. So I always had a caring heart. I always had a love for caring for people. That's my calling. So as time went on, I thought I was going to be a physical therapist, but I had ended up in Hahnemann Hospital, and I was a nursing assistant for 12 years. And the fact that the nurses would come to me and say, Tonya, you really should become a nurse. Or the patients would say, oh, Tonya, I wish you were my nurse. Because I was always checking on them. I was always sitting with them, talking with them. And that's how the journey began. And I took them up on it because I felt like they were speaking into my future. So I just started taking the steps to take my prerequisites. And here I am.
I love it. I love it. And that power of imagery is something that you need as an adult as well.
Yes.
Because a lot of people, what happens is you can't visualize your life in the way in which it is, which it should or could be, I should say. And so one of the things that I talked about, we were in a retreat just a couple of days ago. And one of the things that I talked about was when I rounded the corner, because we have a, um, a water fountain at our hospital, right? And I remember rounding that corner of that water fountain, and I remember hearing that Oprah was a billionaire. And I never thought that I could ever, attain that type of status, just simply because, you have those red light statements that say that you can't, right? I can't do this because of whatever. And so, you go back into her history because you want to have an excuse, right? And so I went back into her history, and our history didn't deem, because I thought, because my parents didn't graduate from high school, then okay, I can't do that either. But the reality is that you can do whatever you want to do. You just have to have, you have to understand that's the power, that there's two powers. So you want to have the power of, number one, seeing it in your mind, right? And then also getting in those spaces where you are actually doing that thing. And so it's super, super important. So yeah, I love that. I love that. So now tell me, once you became a nurse, there was a few things that happened as far as the nurses. You said that you never really fit in.
No, no. Um, Very hurtful. And I also never really fitted in as a child either. But so I was kind of used to it, but that was something that I had grew to adapt to. But what happened was we experienced with a lot what a lot of us experience is nurse bullying. Um, because I came in as a seasoned lifer, and what I mean by that is I became a nurse at 40. So
Mm.
I had already had my husband and my children, and I knew what I wanted. And I had 12 years of experience as a nursing assistant. So I had already knew some things. That just didn't jive well with the people who were training me and the nurses who were already there, because technically, I was a new nurse. So for me to critically think and stand up for myself and stand up for my patients, it just wasn't acceptable. I was supposed to go with the flow and not be creative in how to take care of my patients. And that was this was a very trying time for me, because I started off in a nursing home, and then I ended up in a hospital. And I'm telling you, it transcends color. That's all I have to say.
Hmm.
Like, it is a spirit, it is an energy, and it's not something that's conducive to learning or growing. But because I'm a strong person, I trudged through it. But it doesn't mean that it didn't affect my mind at times, because I felt lonely. And you don't want to make a mistake. You have somebody's life in your hands. So I empowered myself to ask questions, even though I got that pushback, of them not coming to help me sometimes. I had to get creative and trying to lift people. It wasn't safe. But there were one or two angels there that would really see me for who I am, and they would come and help me. But I remember one of the nurses had said to me, she said, "Tonya, just keep doing what you're doing." Now, mind you, she told me this around the corner, away from everybody else, because that was her crew. But she was one of the ones that saw me, and she said, "Just keep doing what you're doing." Because going to that nurses station, it just kept feeding each other negative energy. And I just wasn't about that. And I wanted to stay focused. Anything could happen at the drop of a dime. A cold could be called at any time. I just wanted to be on point because I was new, right? I wanted to be able to say, all right, well, what happened? And just trace my steps until I became seasoned. So,
I love it. It's interesting that my first incident with nurse bullying was in nursing school with an instructor. And I never forget it. It was a patient, and the patient was extremely tall. And she wasn't super big, but she was, big enough, right? And at that time, I was 140 pounds soaking wet, and I didn't have like any muscle tone to my body because, I was just trying to be cute, right? And
Mhm.
so I remember being in her room and trying to get her from the just from the toilet to the bed, right? And it was just a challenge because she just didn't have a whole lot of muscle strength. And I remember going to the instructor, and the reason why I went to the instructor was because my classmates were all in rooms. I didn't know where they were, and she was like, "I'm not coming to help you. You need to reach out to your classmates." I mean, and she was so incredibly ugly. And I mean, and it showed her in a very different light. I mean, I didn't really like her in the first place, but that made me not like her at all, right? Because at the end of the day, this is, as you said, it's about the patient. And understanding that is key. And when you work as a team in order to be able to ensure that the patient is taken care of is key. And that is one of the reasons why I was like, we can't just do it at this level. Like we've got to create something that can across the board help the nurses um, to be able to take care of the patient just at a broader level, right? And that's the reason why we created VP Nursing was because of that particular thing. So thank you for advocating, at that time at the bedside because it's important, right? It's important for people to speak up because people don't speak up because they're scared of the retaliation that they get, and they do, right? And one of the nurses that I used to she's like a nurse bullying expert, and one of the things that she talked about is the fact that nurses bully, they have lateral violence because they can't bully the administration, they can't bully the patient, so they have that lateral violence, and that's what happens a lot of times. And so that is, we obviously see that all the time, and that's some foolishness. But whatever, that's another day for another time.
Yes. I also want to share this one quick story because it just shows the power of, I'm a spiritual person. I'm not a religious person, but it shows the power of your heart, right? And where your heart is. What happened was the administrator was doing rounds on the new nurses who started at the hospital. And she said, Tonya, she said, are you Tonya Cooper? I said, yes. She looked at my badge. I said, yes. She said, I've been looking for you. I wanted to talk to you. I said, really? She said, yes. I said, well, you have some nurse bullying going on here. She just stopped in her check. She said, what? I said, yeah, you have some nurse bullying here. She whipped out her pen and her pad, Dr. V, and she started writing down. I tell you what, I ended up meeting with 3 nurse leaders in a room. And later on, and they said, well, what's going on? Well, I started telling them the nuances and the little things that I was experiencing, and they just sat there and looked at me, and they said, well, how are you coping with that? Now mind you, this is a hospital that's pretty much all white, right? They were known for their background of having all white nurses. She said, well, how did you cope? Well, I pulled out my book from Joyce Meyer's Battlefield of the Mind.
Mm.
And they sat there and they just looked at me. I said, this is what helps me cope. This is what helps me get through. And I let them know that, I have a relationship with God, and I had to go within and not let my external environment define the temperature that was in me. I
Mm.
wasn't perfect at it, right? But I knew that my calling was to serve the patients, serve my coworkers as well if they allowed it. But my main focus was to serve the patients.
That's some good stuff, Tanya. And the reality is that a lot of times what it is those things because I forgot what the scripture, like the specific scripture, but it talks about that we fight not against flesh and blood, but against principalities. And the reality is that it's not really that person, and you just think about it as not that person. It's just this whole aura that you're fighting. And that's how I have to look at it, right? Because if you look at it that way, then it helps you to get through that. And it's just like, I just, you have to look at it and say, I love them and I'm going to love them through it all. It doesn't mean that we need to be connected to each other, right? It doesn't mean that I need to accept your behaviors. I still need to have my boundaries as it relates to you. But, you know, I'm going to keep my mind intact because the more, you know, Dr. Gettings, she was at this Speak Your Way to Cash, which I was at last week, and she talked about the fact that 30 minutes of negative talk kills brain cells. And I was like, you're gonna be killing my brain cells. My brain cells are incredibly important. You're not killing anything at all.
Yeah.
So I love it. I love it. I love it. So now we're going to go to another commercial break, and then we're going to find out about where you are now. Hey to the most amazing nurses. It is Dr. V here with Morning Infusion with Dr. V podcast, where we are intentional about teaching nurses how to work from anywhere around the world, making money and owning your own time, building profitable nurse coaching and consulting businesses. You will hear from amazing guests that have grown their companies and want to share insight into how you can do the same to change the face of healthcare as we know it. If you want to grow your businesses and leverage your knowledge as a nurse to grow wildly successful businesses at the top, instead of working your way to the top, head on over and join our Millionaire Nurse CEO group on Facebook, where you can ask questions and get updates on our live and virtual events to help you grow your businesses. So now tell me, during this journey, you ended up being in an accident. Yeah. And when you were in this accident, tell me what happened.
So one of my favorite aunts had passed in 2023, and we were on our way. It was January. She actually passed on Christmas, so the funeral ended up being in January, the first week, and we were in the funeral procession. And as we were going past, somebody just plowed into our car. I was the driver. I sustained a TBI, and
TBI, because folks don't know what a TBI is.
Oh, I'm sorry, a traumatic brain injury, aka a concussion.
Okay, gotcha.
So the doctor diagnosed it as a mild concussion. However, it did not feel mild to me. So for people who don't know, there's a lot of symptoms that come with that. You get light sensitivity. Some people get ringing in their ears. They nausea, headaches, double vision, things like that. And I pretty much experienced all of them in the very beginning. So I had to, let go of not being able to be myself when that had happened, because I'm somebody that just go. And I'm gonna be honest with you, Dr. V, I really felt like I was living in two different realities, because my body and my mom was saying, Tonya, you got to keep going, because as a nurse, that's what we're taught. You're on autopilot. You just go. Then I would be like, well, why is my head hurting? Like, why am I feeling nauseated? And it was like, oh, I had a concussion. I have a concussion. So I had to give myself grace and give myself rest. Hence the picture behind me, right? So the elephant has a good memory, right? So I use that picture as as positive energy and vibrations to say, Tonya, you are healing, you are becoming, you are on your way to wellness. And I went through all the exercises. They did try to give me medicine. I'm not somebody that likes to take medicine. So I use essential oils for my health and wellness. And that's part of what I teach nurses to use holistic remedies, because some of those pain medicines, as you know, have side effects, and other medications that they try to give you has side effects. And it just never jobbed well with me. So I decided to use plant-based medicine to help my healing. And it's been working. It's been amazing.
There is a TV show. I want to say it's called Painkillers. Have you ever heard of it?
I have not.
So it's interesting that you brought that up because it talks about Oxycontin and it talks about the addictive effects of Oxycontin. And I couldn't watch it all the way to the end because I know the addictive effects of Oxycontin. And but it had this family, had this guy, like this regular guy, like he owned his business, and he had fallen off of this. His kid was horsing around, and he'd fallen off of this like I don't know, with like this big machine, right? Falling off the machine and hurt his back, and he had to have surgery. They put him on OxyContin, and like apparently, like there was this big campaign, like people were going around like giving out OxyContin. But the deal is that with OxyContin, it creates its own, drive for desire for it, right? And so people were like, stealing and killing and things of that nature in order to get this OxyContin. It was just crazy. And it's such, I mean, even now it's a really, really big company, right? And they made billions of dollars off of, people being addicted to this pain medicine. And it is not good. And people don't I think that I didn't really understand. And if you ever look at it, you'll see like the progression of like the pain scale, like the faces. You remember that? Like that came from OxyContin. That came from that era, right? And I was like, that is crazy. That is crazy. But at the end of the day, it's horrible. That if more people understood, and I like what you're doing, because what you're doing is you're working on the front end of it, and you're helping the patient not become a patient, right? Before the patient gets to the hospital, because the reality is that we're never ever going to be able to keep up with patients being sick. I mean, they've been sick for 30 years, right? We can't keep up with that demand. It's never going to happen. And so that's the reason why the healthcare system is suffering at this point. So what I love about health and wellness coaching is that you on the front end, you get the patient, who is not even a patient yet, you get a person, and you say, okay, we're going to take care of you before you get to the stage of disease. And we're going to help you be who you are at the best of who you are. And you're not just affecting one person, like you're affecting families, right? And for generations to come, because what I do affects my children, right? And so you're affecting the children's children, because it's all in that. So I love some health and wellness coaching. I love it.
Yeah, it's so powerful, Dr. V, because number one is a mindset, and number two, we have to recognize the generational practices that have been going on. It's not just mindset; it's what you're eating, it's how you're moving, um, it's your way of being. Right? We have to stop allowing our outside environment affect what's going on the inside. You are empowered to regulate what's going on inside of you. What a lot of people don't realize is that, when you let your outside environment affect you, be it eating, thinking, or other people, that vibration raises your blood pressure. You have to be calm. You have to think your way through certain things, because it's not as traumatic as your mind is telling you. You tell your thoughts what to think, not the other way around.
That is so true. That is so true. That's so good, Tonya. That's so good. Because what happens a lot of times is we let outside, and you will always, if you do that all the time, and sometimes you just have to limit the amount of stimuli that is coming in. And I always say all the time that I'm a minimalist. I'm a minimalist when it comes to a lot of things. Like the information that I'm going to receive is it's not going to be certain information. I'm not going to look at a TV show and look at the commercials all in between, because I'm not like that burger commercial. And I bet be wanting to go get me a burger. And I don't even eat beef like that at all, honestly. So, the reality is that you want to be intentional about taking care of this temple. And I think the one thing that people are not clear on, or some people are not clear on, is that you only have one. And once it hits that disease state, it is really tough to get you back to that state of wellness. It's tough. So why not just stay in the healthy state so that you don't have to get back to that state? And it is a mindset, right? And one of the things that I like, I hated, my father was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. And one of the things I hated that he was diagnosed with it. But one of the things that helped me was that there were a couple of things that, at that time, I don't know what they recommended now, but at that time they recommended you read books. Okay. And then they recommended that you exercise. So I took that on. And for professional and personal development, that literally is changing my life. Right. And so I get up in the morning, if I'm stopped up, like if I have a nose, because every now and then I wake up and I'm stuffy because the house is too hot or whatever. When I get up and I put on my clothes and I go and I work out, I'm no longer stopped up. I don't have that nasal congestion anymore. It's like, those endorphins kick in and I feel so much better. Oh my God, I love to exercise. Love, 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 love to exercise.
Yeah, that is so powerful, because movement is essential in our life. We have to keep moving. We don't need to be reaching for medication. Scripture says, "Be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind." Right. So if you keep repeating the same things or doing the same things that your ancestors or your parents did, then you're calling that on yourself. Right. And I love what you said, Dr. V. You changed it. You saw something that was going on with your dad, and you decided that's not going to be me. And you decided to read books and start moving around. It's a mindset. It's a mindset. I have this thing where I tell people, stop claiming your demise. Stop saying because your grandmother and your mother had diabetes that you're having it. You're going to have it, because you will. You're calling that stuff on yourself. So don't curse yourself. Do something about it. I'm sorry.
That power of life and death in the tongue.
Yes, exactly.
It's real.
It's very real.
It is definitely real.
Yeah.
Well, it has been a pleasure talking to you. So now tell us where we can find you.
So you can follow me on Instagram at EOVibesHC2. And I'm also on Facebook, EO Vibes Holistic Care. And just a little bit of background about my name, because, people go, huh? EO is essential oils. Vibes is a vibration. Everything gives off a vibration. You have the choice of being high vibration or low vibration. And those medicines, that oxytocin coating you were talking about, those are low vibrational medications. That's why I choose to use plant-based medications, because they come from the earth. And, when you walk in grass, you connecting with the earth. So I love plant-based medicines, and holistic care is just what it is. It's holistic care medicine that I'm practicing. So that's why I named my company EO Vibes Holistic Care. I am also on Instagram. I'm on Twitter and Facebook.
I love it. So y'all go look for Tonya. Okay, because she is amazing. All right. Also, if you, we have our next masterclass will be December 19th. It's going to be from 5 until 8 p.m. It's going to be amazing. Come in, learn a few things, learn how you can up-level your business, because at the end of the day, that's one thing that we want to absolutely do. And before we leave, tell us a little bit about your journey in VP nursing, because you were in VP nursing. So tell us, how you felt about it.
It was absolutely godsend, and I'm not even kidding you guys. I happen to be on YouTube, because I'm a YouTuber, and I saw Dr. V's commercial, and something just made me stop. And I'm gonna be honest with you, it's because she looks like me, and it definitely resonated in me that she would be able to help me. And during the course of the program, I connected with people in my cohort. I was pushed to um, make moves and do things to move my business, because I am faithful to the seed that has been planted in me to be a holistic health and wellness coach. And it, it's been game changer for me, as Dr. V would always say. It has been game changer for me. Mind you, I don't look at myself as a TBI survivor. I look at myself as a TBI overcomer. So I am doing things at a different pace, but I'm still getting there, right? And I just love the fact that, Dr. V loves up on you. She is there for you. She's true to her word, and she has a powerful, amazing team behind her. So you just feel that vibration, you feel that energy, and you can't help but not want to be a part of this amazing, amazing journey. So I really encourage you guys to tap in, because you won't regret it. You'll see for yourself.
Kudos, kudos, kudos to my team. Kudos to you, Tonya.
Yeah.
You are an amazing person. I love you.
Thank
And
you.
see you guys later.
Bye.